everyone. Welcome back to Alfa Art Gallery's Meet the Artist series. My name is Ibel, and I'm here with Hana Aviv, who is an exhibiting artist for the new Brunswick Art Salon Watercolor and Mixed Media exhibition. So, hi, Hana. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So, yeah, let's get started. What was the pivotal moment or experience that led you to discover your passion for watercolor painting?
Okay, I really did not have a pivotal moment, but I think people are born not with talent, but with somehow propensity to want to make art. And I've always had that. And then I've always tried to dabble in this and that. And finally, when I reached my early middle age, I decided I wanted to, invest in art. And I went to the Montclair Art Museum, and I enlisted in the first course I could find, and that was actually watercolor. And it turned out that me and the teacher, we really hit it off. We really liked each other a lot, and we had similar styles. And so I took her courses for about 2 years, and then my art started looking like hers, and I had some kind of existential angst, and I decided this is not going to work. I have to kind of explore other things and other teachers and do other, find other possibilities.
Oh, so it's like you went on like a little creative journey to find your style and
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. Yes, I did. I did a lot of figure drawing. I loved doing that. And I did some pastels. I did some oils. And I experimented with different teachers, very classical ones, more experimental ones, and also, plein air painting, which I guess we're going to get to later, which is, really fast, focused type of painting.
Right, yeah. Well, thank you. So, I noticed that on your public Instagram account, it shows that you're currently a pathologist. So, how do you balance your time between your medical career and also your art practice?
It was very difficult at the beginning. I'm actually an honorary pathologist. I am not really a pathologist because I am at the Department of Pathology at the Rutgers over here in New Brunswick. And I am a professor of pathology, but I'm not a pathologist.
Oh, okay.
I went to graduate school, and I got a degree in human genetics. So I'm actually a geneticist. So what I do is run a lab. And a lab is more kind of a creative thing too, because you have to follow procedures, you have to, do experiments. The experiments sometimes work, sometimes don't work. And there is a lot of creativity involved in that. So,
Do you also do like, let's say like research as well and like discovering new things, like such like that?
yeah, I used to do a lot of research, and that was quite time consuming. So, required evenings and other things like that. But recently, I am kind of semi-retired as of last year. So I still work, but I work part-time. So I have a little bit more. I thought I would have a little bit more time for painting, but somehow times always fills up.
That sounds amazing and really impressive. So, so do you feel your background in medical sciences has influenced or enriched your artistic approach and sensibilities?
I think the two of them have influenced each other because, first of all, I've always liked pretty pictures. And, looking at slides, histology slides or bone marrow slides and hematology and all this, I always see shapes and colors and, different kind of, and it's really inspiring to look at that. And then second, being a geneticist, it's a field, it's kind of a creative field in that you take pictures, and you cut up things in a chromosomes into a final pattern, and that's what you hand in. So all the work in the background that you've done that nobody sees, but you finally hand in an image that everybody looks at. And it's that image, like I always find it very aesthetically challenging. Like some people, like there's so many different people in the field. Some are sloppy, some are good. I've always felt like I needed to hand in images that were the best I could do. And So I think that that has influenced my art in the same way, that no matter what happens in the background, how much I pull my hair out or whatever, it's the final image, the final, you know, outcome that really counts.
Oh, wow. That's really quite beautiful to hear. Except for the hair pulling part, of course.
Cutting up chromosomes, I
Mm.
had calluses on my fingers for a long time
Oh,
when I was
no.
doing
Well,
it.
like hearing you do all this like research and just like looking into like the microscope, that sounds really amazing. And
Yeah, so it is actually, I mean, it's art too, except, you know, it doesn't quite come out the same way. Plus, what I do a lot, you know, I would give lectures. And for lectures, you have to prepare slides. And with the
oh,
slides, you know, you have to be very creative. Sometimes I would even insert my paintings or whatever, but you know, I could be very creative in making pretty slides. And I would spend a long time just making it up or Googling things just to make sure that my slides look good. So
that sounds fantastic. Yeah, just a little bit of myself. I'm actually studying at Pratt Institute right now, and we have a foundation lab. So we have that like microscope that you talked about, and we can also like
yeah,
look into it, and we have a big monitor to see everything. So yeah, I totally
yeah,
agree that there's like a correlation between
yeah.
like, cell
Yeah.
science and art for sure.
Sure, I even have a folder that has like pretty images that I have seen, you know, like from especially from the bone marrow, since I've been doing a lot of hematology, and I just love it. I thought one of these days I'm just going to use it as a, you know, just an abstract pattern or something.
That sounds cool. Amazing. So yeah, I think definitely see that in your artwork because like for some watercolor pieces, it's like very like it's very intricate. So I
Yeah,
think I'm drawing some correlations there between like cells and your artwork for sure.
right.
And
Yeah.
so let's jump to the next question. Your great grandmother's influence on your artistic development through the art of crochet is quite fascinating. I think I read that on your artist statement. So can you elaborate on how these early experiences with intricate patterns and design continue to manifest in your current body of work?
Okay, I think that people are born that way. I mean, I don't see too many people that are, you know, oriented toward detail as I am. And my great grandmother, you know, she was from Vienna and she thought, oh, she was going to be a great lady and I was supposed to be brought up, you know, nicely as a lady would be. And one of the arts that she had to do was crochet. And I really took to that. And we got a book, and like for my parents for Christmas or for the birthday or whatever, she would direct me to crochet a lace, you know, some doily or something like that. And I found that, you know, it was very painstaking work. It went slowly. But if you kept with it, like you didn't have to finish everything all at once. You had to come back, you know, next week, the week after, and every time you added a little bit. And at the end, you had a finished product that all came together. And I think that with the painting, it's exactly the same thing. You don't have to, like you sit down and you say, okay, I want to do this, and you get totally overwhelmed. But you don't have to. You could kind of break it down and say, okay, I will lay the foundation, then I will do the next step, then the next step. And then if you are patient and you can come back to it again and again, eventually you'll end up with a final product that, you know, you hope that it's going to come together for you.
Hmm, I see. Okay, so can you share a little bit about your technique of painting such complex watercolor compositions?
Okay, yeah, I mean, again, it's sometimes I look at it and I get started and I get overwhelmed and I want to give up right there and then. But I've discovered that what I do is I lay out a grid, and that kind of, not grid, but like divide my paper in halves or thirds or something like that. And that kind of calms me down and gives me a little bit of a map. And then I start working with the map. So I will start, let's say, drawing, you know, some intricate flowers and this and that, but then it gets to be too much drawing and I don't know what is where. So I start kind of laying down very light washes of color. So to kind of mark for myself what is going to be light, what is going to be dark, what is the outline of this shape and what is the outline of that shape. So little by little, I may not like draw everything at once, or I may not lay down the color all at once, but I will do little by little until I kind of have an underpinning and a map as what I want to do. And then I can stand back from that and I could see, you know, if it needs any corrections. I could still do pretty much anything I want at that stage. And so this is the boring part. This is what, like, where I get overwhelmed and where there is a lot of detail involved, where there's a lot of decisions to be made. But once the underpinning is done, then I can really get creative. And I go through washes and washes to kind of like, I like saturated dark colors. I don't like really wishy-washy light colors. So I go through it, you know, many times, sometimes until I feel it's saturated and dark enough.
Yeah, because I feel like watercolor is it's an interesting medium, since sometimes when you make mistake, it could be permanent. So you have to think fast, work fast, and it can be quite difficult to control sometimes. So
that's why I don't do that anymore. I used to, because I have a tendency to go in with a full brush and lots of color and I plop it down and then I'm like, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah.
So I try to train myself to like go light first. And once you've gone light and you know where everything is going to go, then you could, you know, let yourself go and start plopping color down.
Yeah, the fun part, I would say.
Yeah, that's really the fun part. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of like touched upon the question, but like, is there any like unique challenges that the medium of watercolor present in your composition, and how do you usually overcome these challenges?
Yeah, I think I did answer most of that question before, in that I really try to pace myself. I try to not be overwhelmed. And also, like, I have a tendency when I sit there with a brush and my paper is wet, I am not patient. So I try to go away, get a cup of coffee, walk around the apartment 3 times or something like that, and then come back, you know, because you have to wait until that paper is at the right stage. And I'm very impatient. I would start prodding it here and there and from different sides, and, you know, until the whole thing is a mess. So to be able to take a break, to walk away from it, to lay back, to hold myself back and not to really like plunge in like full. I mean, some people do that and probably that's art, but it doesn't work for me. Like, it, you know, like some people, maybe they're so good, they will take a brush and they'll make a few bold strokes and they have a masterpiece. But that doesn't seem to work for me. So.
Yeah, that sounds like good advice to me too, because I do oil painting, so I understand your frustration with like having to wait and waiting it to dry to wait
Yeah.
at the perfect stage. So completely agree.
Perfect stage. And like, if you're sitting there, you're gonna start too early. At least I do all the time. Yeah.
And so, yeah, your artist statement also talk about finding this like childlike wonder and observing the way water interacts and create beautiful organic shapes. Can you elaborate on this fascination and how it informs your painting technique?
Okay, sometimes I do that just for fun. I mean, I used to do that even as a child, but you know, you take you make a shape and you fill it with water, and then you just touch like very saturated paint to one corner of the filled shape, and you will watch how the water is, you know, going through that. And then you could go crazy. You could add other ones, deeper, darker, and you could see. And sometimes I, you know, twist the paper here and there and make it run this way and that way. And it's wonderful. And it's, the thing is that it looks really good when it's wet. It somehow loses a lot of its luster when it dries.
Yes.
And there's another way to do it, is to have a very saturated, fill a paint with, you know, a shape with saturated paint, and then add either another color or water. And then you could see how the whole thing happens all over again on a darker background.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And sometimes I fill out whole paper just with that and see, you know, then I hold it upside down and see if I could make anything out of it. But, you know, most of the time it was just fun making, but throw it away. Not much there.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, art should be fun for you and like fun for all as well. Oh, I'm just curious, have you ever considered using gouache if you want more like saturated color?
Yeah. And I even tried I mean, sometimes I add like whites if I really, or, you know, some opaque color if I really want to emphasize something. But I don't know. I'm too much. Probably I'm too much of a purist, and I cannot. I say, okay, maybe I should, and I could, and I would, and I will, and I don't do it. It's just like once it's done like the way I've done it, I don't feel like covering it up or adding other things to it. So,
Okay. Yeah, thank you for letting me know.
but I will. One of these days I will, or I sometimes do, but not often.
Okay, I see. So last question. You mentioned you enjoy painting outdoors, plein air, but and that your strongest work emerges from your studio practice. Can you discuss the differences in your approach between plein air painting and also working in the controlled environment of your studio?
Okay, it seems like it's a kind of a plein air painting and studio painting are like split personality. Because I just went on a workshop in Vermont and I really enjoyed and I really learned a lot. But it's a completely different approach. I mean, you start in the morning, you scout out your place. I usually draw a couple of thumbnail sketches just to make sure that my, you know, design, whatever is right. And then you do the whole thing in one day. So you start top to bottom, big brush, lots of wet paint and no maps, no nothing, just kind of keep going. And it's like it's one way to be in the zone. I mean, it's like you really have to concentrate. You're out in the, you know, fresh air and you have to concentrate and you are working under duress. You have to finish in that one day because that's your goal. And then, you know, in the studio, I already told you how I approach things. I approach things more slowly and methodically, but I'm hoping that the plein air painting will bring more freshness and more spontaneity to what I'm doing in the studio. And so I think both of them are both approaches are very important. Yeah, with the like I usually in the plein air I paint, of course there is you know, landscapes, whatever I see in front of me, and somehow like in the studio I paint landscapes all the time, but the approach somehow that I have for more abstract, flowery or whatever designs doesn't really seem to work for landscape. So I'm still kind of working out how to best approach landscapes in the studio.
I hope it works out for you eventually.
Yeah, that's because that's the synthesis of the two, the plein air and the studio. And it's, you know, I still have to figure out how to do that really well.
Best of luck for you. So, well, Hannah, thank you so much for being here with us today, and we can't wait to see your work at our upcoming exhibition for 2024 New Brunswick Art Salon Fall Watercolor and Mixed Media Exhibition. So, thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.